Did you know that for Goodfellas, Henry Hill, in which the movie was based on, claimed that Robert De Niro would phone him 7 to 8 times a day to discuss certain things about Jimmy's character, such as how Jimmy would hold his cigarette. 2. Ray Liotta's mother died of cancer during filming. Liotta says that he used his anger over losing his mother for certain scenes, the pistol whipping scene in particular. 3. According to Ray Liotta, Martin Scorsese was so involved in every detail of the cast's wardrobe that he tied Liotta's tie himself to make sure it was accurate for the film's setting. 4. The studio was initially very nervous about the film due to its extreme violence and language. The film reportedly received the worst preview response in the studio's history. Martin Scorsese said that the numbers were so low, it was funny. Nevertheless, the film was released without alteration to overwhelming critical acclaim, cementing Scorsese's reputation as one of America's foremost filmmakers. 5. After Joe Pesci's mother saw the film, she told him the movie was good, then asked him if he had to curse so much. 6. Ray Liotta turned down the part of Harvey Dent in Batman in order to make this movie. Did you know for The Lion King, the team working on the film was supposedly Disney's B team, who were kept busy while the A team worked on Pocahontas, on which the production had much higher hopes. As it turned out, The Lion King became a huge critical and commercial success, whereas Pocahontas met with mixed reviews and a much lower box office. 2. In early drafts, Scar was a rogue lion with no relation to Mufasa. Eventually, however, the story writers thought relating him to Mufasa would be more interesting, a threat within. This is why Scar and Mufasa differ so much, as they weren't originally designed to be related. 3. Hans Zimmer originally hesitated at the idea of composing music for a children's animated film, but eventually joined production after warming up the story, which reminded him of his respective relationships with his father and daughter. His attitude towards animated films eventually changed throughout the course of his involvement in the film's production. He later called his experience on working on The Lion King as one of the greatest in his professional career. 4. Unlike the other lions, Scar's claws are always displayed throughout the movie. Did you know for Fast Times at Ridgemont High, right after Mr. Hand sends Spicoli to the office for being late to class, Mr. Hand passes out the class schedule of quizzes. After the paper is passed out, the students put the page up to their noses and deeply inhale. This was a popular school ritual of the 1960s, 70s, and early 80s, as photocopying machines were very expensive, so ditto machines were used. The resulting copies did not have a psychoactive effect, but they smelled good. 2. Nicolas Cage lied about his age so that he could get a bigger part, but the producers eventually found out that he was only 17. It is also his first paid role. 3. During shooting of the film, Sean Penn got so into character that he only answered as Spicoli. In fact, the door on his dressing room was labeled Spicoli instead of Sean Penn. 4. First-time director Amy Heckerling said she was seeking to make a comedy that was less structured than conventional ones, and more like American Graffiti, so that if you woke up and found yourself living in the movie, you'd be happy. I wanted that kind of feel. 5. Stacy works at Perry's Pizza. Jennifer Jason Leigh actually worked at Perry's Pizza for a month after she got the role of Stacey Hamilton, but before filming began. Did you know that when Scarface was re-released in cinemas in 2003, the studio wanted Brian De Palma to change the soundtrack so that rap songs inspired by the film could be used? De Palma refused. 2. The prop firearms were equipped with electronic synchronizing devices so that they would only fire when the camera shutter was open. The result was that the gun's muzzle flashes are much more visible and consistent than in most films. 3. In order to create the most accurate picture possible, Oliver Stone spent time in Florida and the Caribbean interviewing people on both sides of the law for research. It got hairy, Stone admitted of the research process. It gave me all this color. I wanted to do a sun-drenched tropical third-world gangster, cigar, sexy Miami film. Unfortunately, while penning the screenplay, Stone was also dealing with his own sniffing habit, which gave him an insight into what it can do to users. Stone actually tried to kick his habit by leaving the country to complete the script so he could be far away from his access to it. I moved out of LA with my wife at the time and moved back to France to try and get into another world and see the world differently. And I wrote the script totally stone cold sober. Did you know that for Iron Man, in an interview with Britain's Empire magazine, Robert Downey Jr. thanked Burger King for helping him get clean in 2003. This was because he had a burger that was so disgusting, it made him rethink his life and dump his stash in the ocean. He repeats this, with his impromptu sit-down session with the press upon his return from captivity. Burger King also promoted the film with toys based on this movie, as well as the sequel. 2. Agent Phil Coulson was originally a much smaller part. In fact, the character at first was only called Agent, but as filming went on, and Greg's chemistry with all the other cast members became apparent, they added more and more scenes. Agent Coulson would go on to appear in many films. 3. Paul Bettany, who played Jarvis, has never seen the film and is unfamiliar with the plot. He said it was the easiest job ever, and it was almost like a robbery, since he only worked for 2 hours, got paid a lot of money, then went on vacation with his wife. His role was expanded considerably in the later Marvel films, and even required his physical presence from Avengers: Age of Ultron. Did you know for Zoolander, Derek's repetition of the line, "But why male models for the second time" in the cemetery scene was an ad-lib by the actors? Ben Stiller forgot his line and simply repeated the earlier line again, and David Duchovny ran with it and gave him a straight answer. 2. Derek Zoolander's blue steel look evolved from Christine Taylor ribbing her husband, Ben Stiller, about the way he combs his hair in front of a mirror. 3. Ben Stiller wrote the part of Hansel specifically for Owen Wilson and said that no one else was even considered for the role. 4. According to an interview with Ben Stiller, this movie started out as a character sketch for VH1 Fashion Awards. After several written scripts, and over several years, the studio finally agreed to film it. The movie's release immediately followed the attacks of September 11, 2001, and has been cited as a reason for its failure at the box office. It didn't fail. It just performed below expectations and yielded a small profit. 5. This is the first American movie in which Alexander Skarsgård appeared. 6. Ben Stiller wrote David Bowie's scene as judge of the walk-off into the script without knowing for sure whether he would agree to it. Did you know for How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, Kate Hudson improvised plastering Matthew McConaughey with kisses during the scene where she introduces the new dog? This is why McConaughey looks genuinely surprised. 2. Much of the scene where Andy crashes Ben's boys' night was improvised. Kate Hudson had the idea to toss the platter of veggies at the guys seated at the poker table. Donald Petrie, the director, knew she was going to do this, but the actors in the scene were truly surprised. 3. When Andy and Ben go to see Sleepless in Seattle, according to the commentary, Kate ad-libbed 2 quotes. "I've always wanted a man like Tom Hanks, and you can't watch Meg Ryan for 2 hours and not be thinking about another girl." 4. Gwyneth Paltrow was originally going to star, but had to drop out due to other commitments and was replaced by Kate Hudson. 5. Lana's dress at the Warren Advertising Gala is by Chanel, and her diamond tiara is real. There were an estimated $200,000 worth of jewels lent to the film. 6. A lot of the scenes were improvised. One is the scene with the family album. Did you know for War Dogs, at the time that she got the role, Ana de Armas barely spoke any English. She simply learned all her lines phonetically. The makers got wind of this when a line in the script was changed, and she didn't know how to properly pronounce it or have even a basic conversation. Her management immediately put her through English lessons. Afterwards, she said that she mastered the language in a very short time because her life depended on it. 2. The real Ephraim Diveroli declined to meet with Jonah Hill. Hill said, "I'm used to it. If a person is aggressively against me playing them, it's probably a good sign." 3. The real David Packhouse appears in the movie, singing "Don't Fear the Reaper" in the retirement home where Miles Teller tries to sell sheets. 4. Ephraim Diveroli filed a lawsuit against Warner Brothers Entertainment, Inc., director Todd Phillips, producer Bradley Cooper, and others, seeking to block the release of the film. Diveroli's lawsuit claimed that the basis for the film was taken from his self-published memoir, Once a Gun Runner. 5. The poster design is a parody of the one for Scarface, which is referenced a lot throughout the film by the main characters. Jonah Hill was born in the year that Scarface was released.